startup ecosystem, what the idea is that you have to learn how to pitch your idea clearly and concisely. And once you learn how to do that, then you can bring in all the stakeholders and you can get into programs that'll help you and train you on how to build it. But that first step is you have to design a business model that is desirable.
When I initially moved back to Pensacola, I had a meeting with Lloyd. Lloyd invited me for breakfast and I was telling him, man, I still have an idea for the entertainment industry. This is what I wanted to do. He was like, all right, I got Startup on the Blocks. So I need you to start coming to Startup on the Blocks and get a little more information on how to work through the tech ecosystem and take your idea and we'll get you where you need to go. My company is called The Know, is an app that is streamlining business for the entertainment industry. Yeah, so if you're a musician, what you would do is pretty much jump on the platform, you'll create a profile, but the way we created the profile is pretty much a cleaner way. So now if they want more information about you, you'll connect your social media platforms, your streaming platforms, and that way they can go directly to it. What we also have included is your calendar. So pretty much you can set your days, you can set your price for your days and automate your booking. So initially talking to Lloyd, my idea was all here, it was there, it was over here, it was over there. It was like, all right, Quinn, I get it. You got a lot that you want to do, but we need you to bring it in just a little bit and then work on your pitch, your story, and how you're going to bring it full circle to get people to understand what you're trying to create.
Most of the programs here wasn't inclusive, and so we said we'll focus on helping founders of color. We also start at the beginning of the thing, at the idea stage, whereas a lot of the programs you see here locally, they start after you're up, and that's not very efficient unless if you don't have a lot of money, you can't recover from your mistakes. And the lean startup system, it actually helps you make mistakes faster before you spend a lot of money. You don't actually start building anything until you got customer buy-in.
There was a need for small businesses to bring brand awareness to their business. I see there's a lot of makers and bakers that they're making all of these goodies and these products, but they can't market it, they can't sell it at the same time, and there needs to be kind of that middleman, that middle person to help bring economic growth to some of the small businesses in Pensacola. So Taste of Pensacola, I came up with that idea during the pandemic when I saw things at that time that Amazon couldn't fulfill. They didn't even have those products, but the local people in the community, they did. And so there was a ton of people coming out saying, hey, I make masks. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. All the local people here that are just as talented that can actually make those products. And so I wanted to kind of showcase who they were. So with Taste of Pensacola, our income streams, we have several of them. We have the corporate America, we do corporate gifting, just regular consumers, different Pensacola natives that don't live here that want to purchase our boxes, like a taste of weddings, distribution. So we also do bulk sales. So for a private airline, if they want some local snacks and goodies on their passenger flights, they will come to Taste of Pensacola and we will source their vendors here locally, and we'll give a small business owner an opportunity to have reoccurring monthly sales. I've always had a really big vision for Taste of Pensacola. I knew that it could go beyond just local. I know that maybe other communities could possibly use the same platform that I'm trying to build. And I always have these big visions, but I never know how to even get there. Where do I start? I know it's more than, there's a lot of technical things behind it. I know there's a lot of research, but that connection, I never had it until, thankfully, I met and was introduced to Startups on the Blocks and was able to just learn more about how to grow it in terms of data. Things I just never thought about, framework, words like traction. There's a lot of things that I just did not know about in language that I need to know in order to get funding for my business. There's just a lot that I didn't know.
I would go to the stores and look online. They didn't have a wide variety of natural hair products about 8 years ago. And the ones that they did have, the ingredients, it would say that they were all natural. And when I would research the ingredients, a lot of the ingredients were not natural. I make everything, my shampoo, conditioner, I have an oil that I make, and I have 2 different separate butters. Like I had some people who were completely bald and grew their hair. It's about giving women their confidence back in their hair. I have this salon and then I have a second salon, and I have my products in about 5 beauty supply stores. So I need a manufacturer to keep up with the demand at this point. Startup on the Blocks has helped my business grow. Send me to different people. I'm able to do different pitch competitions to apply for grants in the community for small businesses. Lloyd's a really good person to connect with. He has a lot of resources here in the community that can help small businesses grow. If you have a product out there and you're trying to go big time, he's the person that you would want to meet with.
So it's really important to have some type of support because 9 times out of 10, most founders start out on their own. And to have somebody that has an idea of how the ecosystem works and is able to tap into other resources and bring back to the community, and that pretty much has encountered some of the roadblocks or going through the same roadblocks that we're currently going through and understands where you're at, your culture and how you respond to things, is a big help because you don't really have too many people that have access to what we have access to here in the community. And a lot of people believe that you have to leave and go to bigger cities to do the things that we're doing here. But I mean, it's one thing to have exposure, but you have to actually know it's here in the community in order to take advantage of the resources. So I get approached and I talk to friends all the time that wants to either start an idea or hear that I'm actually doing the app and wants to know more information about how are you doing it or what's the process, what's the path. I'm like, man, we have somebody here, Startup on the Blocks, Lloyd Richard. And Lloyd is here, he's a great resource to the community and to founders that's trying to learn the ecosystem. So join Startup on the Blocks.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I joined Startup on the Blocks and joined this program every Thursday afternoon. How you doing, Dr. Ross?
I'm doing great.
Good to have you here. Looking forward to
Yes.
a great conversation. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsors and some, et cetera. But I'm down here in Miami at the BiteCon conference. We had Tamonte on about a month or so ago to kind of let people know about it, and so it's kind of exciting to kind of see a bunch of Black folks get together and share knowledge, and so it was a real great day today, meeting some other Black folks. And also, the idea of the BiteCon thing is just to, help people learn all these new technologies, especially the AI technology. So, so you had a bunch of folks, talking about all the AI stuff and a lot of good things. And I had the opportunity to sit on a panel, and so we had a really good time. Yeah. So it's always great to participate in stuff like that and make the connections and, become visible.
Yes.
Yes. So, yes. So let me share my screen here and give a little shout out to some of our sponsors. Then I'll have you introduce yourself and so folks can learn a little bit more about you. Definitely excited. About tonight and about being around founders, people that are trying to move forward. Yes. And one of the great ways we do that is definitely through these partners, and so when you're doing something, whether you're a startup founder or what, it's always good to align yourself with organizations or people with similar interests. And so with our startup best practices program and our Black Founder program, we started trying to get partners from day one, and we've been extremely blessed to become connected with. And these are just a few organizations that offer a lot of support for founders. Yes. Yeah, and then funding is also required, so to kind of put these programs on, and we're thankful to Florida Power and Light because they've been working with us since we actually started the nonprofit, and then when we got into helping startups, they gave us some seed funding to get that rolling, and some ongoing programs right now. So we just, I guess the number one message, if you're a startup founder, is to you have to partner. Yeah, and Russ, we're looking forward to partnering with your organization to expand our ability to help founders out.
Yes, like as am I.
Okay, fantastic. Let's see here. I guess please just give like a short introduction of yourself, and then I'm going to, after that, I'll tell folks a little bit about our programs and what we got coming.
Short introduction. One of 8 growing up, third son. Grew up in New York. Graduated high school, joined the military. At a college, I had a 4-year ROTC scholarship, so I served 27 years in the Air Force. Decided that upon retirement as a colonel that I didn't want to work for anybody anymore, and set out on my entrepreneurial journey. A lot of the things that those folks were talking about in the video that played are things that I experienced firsthand, and did not have the ecosystem for support. I'm down in Tampa, Florida. I started in 2000 and retired in 2009. So I started my business about then, and everybody knows what was happening in the environment and the economy.
Yes,
really difficult.
I know.
And I learned a lot of the lessons that these folks have learned. I learned them the hard way. And I also set out to say, well, what can I do about that to not only just help myself grow in business, but then to take those lessons learned and share them with our community in particular, because we don't have generational knowledge, generational experience, and we can't get to generational wealth without it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. One of our speakers, one of our speakers and guests on the Startup Best Practice is Dr. LaTanya White, and she emphasized that a lot. And she used the term not generational wealth, but I'm trying to think of the term. I'm sort of dynastic wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So like it takes three generations to kind of do that happen. But she explains that a lot of the challenges with formerly enslaved or any formerly enslaved culture is that each generations the folks are starting over again from scratch.
Right.
And it's hard to get to that dynastic wealth when you're having to start over. It's hard to get a legacy, and that's a kind of a painful thing to know your kids have to literally start over if you don't do something to pass something down to them, so they don't have to start from scratch.
That's right.
Yeah. So
and just to say this real quickly, too often what we're passing down is to get a job, and we need to pass down how to take control of our own ability to earn with our own skills, talents, and abilities.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. The panel I was on today, it was about building like $1 million company, and so the gentleman, apologize for not being able to remember his name, but he told a story that about his mother, and so he had just bought and sold a company for like $3 million. So he was showing his mother his tax return. And she was complaining about he didn't go get a job.
Right.
and he had acquired companies and sold them 12 different companies. He had did it 12 times. And most of the times he said he didn't use any of his money doing it.
That's the way to do it. Yes.
Yeah. And so there's all these things you can learn from people out there, but you have to kind of get engaged and be a part of it, so you can actually learn and connect. And these people are approachable and they you can connect with them, but you have to get out. You can't stay in your own little cubby hole there as a founder. Yeah.
The two, I guess, if I would say two things, the first one is show up,
Oh, for sure.
go where you need to be, and then commit to your projects.
Right. And so, yeah, that's right. And so I wanted to, of course, you've seen some of the stuff that I'm about to show, but we'll go through this pretty quickly here, and then we'll get into the conversation
Yeah.
with you. But so we do this Startup Founders Best Practices every Thursday night, and we've been actually doing it for 4.5 years. This August, it'll be actually 5 years, and we've only missed one event in those 4.5 years. And the whole purpose, so we can help people learn the best practices of building a startup. And so you can leverage the ecosystem to kind of move forward. And on the surface, that may not seem like much, but there is some logic to it. So like if you're a founder or you have a business and you want to get money to help you grow your business, you have to speak the language of the startup ecosystem in order to get the help you needed. And so, because the ecosystem is vast, it has so many resources that you never could even imagine all the resources. But if you don't speak their language, you're not going to get the help you need to move forward. I had a conversation with a founder earlier this week, and he was all excited. He had created a new business model, a new idea, and he, he wants to get people to help him out. He already has several, and so he's all excited. He's got that innovative bias. I said, you can keep doing all this, but until you speak the language of the ecosystem, you're not going to get the help you need to move forward, because the ecosystem requires you to speak a certain language. So because they have thousands, tens of thousands of people to choose from that they can invest in or help, why should they choose you? So if you don't pitch a business model that is scalable, that's the first thing that's going to eliminate you from a lot of the help you can get. And that's why we teach these best practices.
And it goes to risk, because
yes,
like you just said, there's so many people out there who are, having these great ideas, but if they're going to give you money, investors and banks want their money back, and they want it back with interest or return. And if you can't articulate and describe, what you're doing in a way that they're going to say, yes, this is this individual is credible, and this is a worthy, mission or program or project to take on, you're way behind the power curve. So yeah, absolutely. Speaking the language starts at the beginning. And I will say this very quickly. It took me about 2 years to learn the language.
Yes.
So this startup program that you have put together helps to learn the language a lot quicker.
Yes.
And that gets you to success and gets you to money a lot faster.
Yeah. And so what I asked him, I said, how fast is, you like one example he gave of one of his nonprofits. He said, well, we got make a certain amount of money each month. I said, so yeah, so what? But how is it growing? So, and you want people to help you, or you want money. So, it's like one of Corey always says, the ROI, return on investment. But so like if your business is growing at just not really growing, or growing at a 1 or 2% per year, and there's thousands of other businesses out there growing at 10x or 5x or whatever. Why should they put money in your thing when they can put it in something that's going 10x?
Correct. And they're putting down bets every time they put money into a company. Is essentially is a bet that they're going to get it back. And typically about 7 out of 10 of them don't pan out anyway. So the odds are really against you if you don't come in with a great a great product or a great idea. And I want to throw this in. I didn't go into a whole lot of my background, but I had an MBA. I have an MBA. And when I started in business, I was shocked that I didn't know and understand the business of being an entrepreneur. And I went back and looked at my textbooks. Okay. And what I found was that they taught me how to be a corporate employee. They didn't tell me.
Wow. Yeah. I had no idea. They teach you strategies to work for other companies, but you don't realize sometimes you can use those same strategies in your own company. It's just that, it's everything you have to look at in a lot of different alternative ways. But what I like about this conversation with the founder this week, I think he finally got it.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the best idea, but if you can't show that idea is gonna have some traction and grow, why should somebody help you?
Mm-hmm.
When there's other people that got business models that are actually growing, and so it finally made sense to him. What I've been telling him, I met him a year ago. Yeah, and so I think he finally got it. So I feel bad it took a whole year, but he got it. And so so these are the programs we work with to support founders, and so so just remember out there, folks, we can get you access to the knowledge you need, so you can create a scalable business model, and you can speak that language to get the help you need to move forward. Yeah, and so we Black Innovation Leaders of Florida, we team with them, so that's how we're doing this Launchpad stuff. And this is what I'm all excited about and been working hard on to kind of get things to move forward. And so you remember about the 10x and all that, growing at a 10x. So in order to grow a business at a 5x, 10x, or whatever rate, you have to innovate. You can't do it based on just what's currently available, today. So you have to create something that's 3 times better, 10 times better than the existing stuff's out there. And that's what the whole idea of innovation. And AI is the number one tool for innovation. So you have to learn how to use it. And that's what this year's Black Founders Innovation Summit is all about. And you don't have to be a tech person. You just have to say, well, I don't know how to do this. Are you familiar with this ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic or Claude or whatever? And and it'll start helping you formulate your stuff. And we're actually giving you prompts and stuff to use to plan out your whole business. So and so we got some great founders coming up, and they've all these people use different approaches to build their MVPs to move forward. And so there's no one way to do it. And so we also got 2 keynote speakers so far. Sydney, he's the president of the Black Bank up here in Mobile, and Sabola, Coach Sabola, she travels all over, speaking all over the country, and God knows where else. So she's going to be rocking and rolling. So we got a great lineup. So today I got down in Miami, and Adrian is down here. I got to hear him do a presentation today, and it was fantastic. So when you come to these events, they're giving away a lot of free stuff, and so that's what you got to remember. So get ready for a lot of good stuff that way. And Corey was with us last year. He's an accredited investor, and so he's been out there studying and learning all this stuff about raising money and actually doing it. And so he'll be back again to kind of share his approach on that. And so we have all these ideas, and we come up with innovations. So Terry Sanks, he's coming in. He has a law firm down in Orlando. He's coming in to kind of share some his insights on intellectual property and how it's used in the legal industry. Yes. All righty. So I'll stop right there. I could go on and on about all these processes, and but what we want to do tonight is we want to learn more about what you're all about, Russ, and so that's what we're looking forward to tonight. Yes. So what have you learned? We just met 2-3 weeks ago
at Synapse. Yes.
Yeah, and another startup conference. And so, what was your impression of Synapse, just off the top of your head?
I've been to several Synapse. I try not to miss it if at all
Okay,
possible, because
gotcha.
it's one of those places where, number one, the information is highly valuable, and the things that you learn there position you ahead of anyone else in that particular field. So one of the first ones I went to was um, cannabis, and cannabis was all the thing, and everybody was jumping into that business.
Yeah.
And then I went to one that was all about blockchain,
Okay.
and that was leading edge. A lot of folks who were getting involved in that. And this last one was a lot, like you mentioned, a lot about AI and
Yeah.
how that's evolving. But this Synapse was a little bit more broadly ranged than some of
Okay.
the other ones in terms of what they were presenting and who was actually there. I also like the fact that this was the first one that was not at Amalie Arena.
Okay.
And at Amalie, there was, everything was spread out. You had to walk a long way just to see a lot of things. And this one, it was easy to just go, up and down and get to the various things. And I think that that's how I was able to come by your
Okay.
section there, because at an Amalie Arena, I might have missed you,
Gotcha.
but
Gotcha.
but not at Raymond James. And so it was I'm gonna call it like a watershed event for me, because when I came across your table and we started talking, I think we talked for 45 minutes or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
And we're so aligned in all of the things that we're doing that I made up my mind immediately that I was going to try to find some way to participate in the programs, assist in the programs, contribute to the programs, benefit from the programs before I left there. So yeah, and then right close to you were several organizations that have been clients of mine for a long time, people that I've
Oh,
worked with and who are
okay.
revenue generating streams for Sistro Solutions.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
We
Okay.
also had, I also, one of my organizations is Actions on Tampa, and we had 8 people who were pitching. So I
Fantastic.
had assisted them with preparing their pitches, and I was there for their presentations, and they did a phenomenal job. So it was a
Yeah.
great day. It was really a great day for me.
Yeah. So yeah, it's and so I hear you saying all these things, but it's so there's no shortage of opportunities to get involved in these type of events. Sound like.
Mhm. And when you find some of them, these are recurring. You don't have to run to every single event that's there, but when you find one like a Synapse or a CEO Experience, or some of these that are out there, those are ones you just don't miss. And
Right.
you put it on your calendar and you block everything off, and you make sure that you're at that particular one,
Yeah.
because that'll make a lot of gain. That'll help you for the year,
Yes.
position you for great things for the year.
Yeah, yeah. Depending on what your motivation is, and so part of like for example, coming down here to ByteCon in Miami, um, so it's all about um, getting people trained in technology and kind of the intersection of technology and culture. I had no idea the people, the successful people that I would meet, and to get so many new insights on what's going on with AI. So you had some of the top Microsoft people there talking about AI and stuff like that. So you and
Yeah.
so that's one of the things that I want people to, sometimes people forget about. A lot of these technical conferences is training conferences. So you go there to kind of sharpen your thing and kind of learn stuff. And so I was talking to a podcaster there, and doing an interview with him, Bishop. I can't think of what the total name of his podcast is, but he was saying, he uses AI a lot, and he does prompting, and he uses a certain format for his prompting. I say, yeah, that's because you understand how to do prompting, but the average person don't know how to do prompting. And so
Right.
what I always tell people is, sit down there to the thing, say, are you familiar with this? And and then if when you ask it, are you familiar with this, whatever this is, it's going to come back and say, yes, I'm familiar with it. And then now you can ask the question that you really want to ask, because
Mhm.
it has some context. And so you can't tell a person that's new to something, you got to learn this, you got to learn that. Just let them build some confidence in what they're doing, so they can see how it actually works.
Right.
Yeah, you try to teach them how to be an expert before they get familiar with the technology.
Yeah, I find it interesting that there are many people out there who are skeptical about just trying some of these things.
Yes.
When there's really no risk to trying it, and many of them are free. You know,
Yeah.
you can sign up for Chat GPT without paying a dime, and you could experiment with it, play with it, explore it, and really figure out, you know, what is good and what is bad about it. But the
Yeah.
biggest thing that happens is now you get into conversations with people, and you can assess whether they know what they're talking about or they don't know what they're talking about. And now you can have some reasonable questions and conversations around these types of things. So I get involved if I hear it and I hear something about something, I just jump right in and you know, just give it a shot. You know, you got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yes, yeah. And so the reason why I mention all this, because there are a lot of people out there that, you know, shine away, and so they think they have to be so tech savvy, you know, to kind of do stuff. And so, you know, on the plane coming down here, I was sitting next to a guy, and he started asking me stuff, and so I shared a few things, but he, you know, he wasn't familiar with AI, and so I said, you know, most people think they're not familiar with AI, but every last one of us is familiar with it, because it's trying to operate just like your brain does. If you just think that simple, you know, you and I met, so now I can probably recognize your voice, I can recognize your mannerism, because my brain has built memory. So every time I see you, I learn more about you, and I bet it's the same for you, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the other term, I mean, is machine learning. AI is machine learning, and the machine is actually learning. The differentiator between the machine learning, and this is what scares people, the differentiator between machine learning and human learning is that we can discern some nuances and shifts in things that create pattern, you know, that create patterns that are emotional patterns. And the machine can only learn the logical patterns. So we can see emotional patterns, the machine cannot. And that's always going to be the differentiator between humans and the machines. But it's learning.
So what I
learns
tell,
what you teach it.
yeah. So what I always tell people, you know, what you think AI is capable of, not capable of, every month something changes. So fundamentally, you just have to learn the power of the technology. So if you think it can't do something one day, and 6 months later you keep saying it can't do that, you better go back and look at what happened over the past 6 months. And that's like a lot of people. And I can tell you personally from my experience with AI, and I started, you know, spent over $10 million in taxpayer money, you know, or participated in activities that, you know, to learn about computing and AI. And I literally found out AI was the best way to understand stuff. And but I can also tell you, back in the late 90s, AI could understand emotions. But most people don't think it can do that. Anything that's a pattern, it can learn it. So that's what that's what everyone has to remember. Any pattern, everything is a pattern. There's nothing in life that's not a pattern. And what artificial neural networks do, when you feed it data, they learn the pattern in the data.
So they can replicate. They can replicate sadness, they can replicate happiness, and they can replicate all those things.
But you got to remember what I'm telling you. It's just like your brain. If you can do it, the AI can do it. So that's what eventually it can do it. So that's what you got to remember. And so just remember, it's trying to emulate your brain. If you just wrap your head around that, you understand that, because it's not trying to do anything else. And the irony of that is, your vision can only see down to a certain level. AI can see down to pixel level or even smaller.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
So
So
absolutely, the
yeah,
process is at such a tremendously faster rate. You know?
yeah, but it's a great opportunity because it's actually a tool, and that tool, no matter what you ask it actually it's just interesting. That's why me I can write I can use AI to write a prompt or whatever. But so
Mhm.
like the one example, then we'll get back to your story. So last night, yesterday, I was on a family conversation with my siblings. I guess it was actually Tuesday night, and we were talking about a lot of genealogy.
Mhm.
And I've been waiting and trying to understand, when is, in AI in genealogy. So I went to ChatGPT. I didn't try to do a prompt. I just said, "Are you familiar with the different file types that they use in genealogy?" And of course, it said yes. And so and then I say, if I provide you with this file type of my family tree, can you help me analyze my family tree? And it said, yeah. Can you upload the file now? You see what I'm saying? You don't have to know it all. Just ask it. Are you familiar with it?
Right.
And that's what I tell people, because if you think you got to write a prompt, you're never going to get started. And
That's
that's
right.
what I tell people, to kind of move forward.
That's right.
This is from somebody that's been using AI since the 90s.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm telling you. It's just all
And
right.
that's one of the things that I found at Synapse too, as well, was that, what it seems to be new to those of us who weren't initiated way back when is not new at all. And some of these folks had decades of experience when it came to some of these activities. And it was just refreshing to sit there and hear them describe the evolution to where we are, and how we got here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And everybody is unique, no matter what your experiences are, and so your experiences are what makes you different than the next person. And so
Mhm.
and if you leverage that with the AI, you can accomplish great things and kind of make some money. So like we've been talking a little bit. So like, and so I used what you sent me to ask ChatGPT, what are some questions I probably should ask you? And
Okay.
I did that several times in the past, but
Right.
man, I'm going to tell you, it gave some hard questions for you. I was like,
I
man,
can do hard questions.
but I think it saw your PhD,
Right.
really through. Yeah, and so this is an example of one of the questions it asked. It suggested, um, uh, and this is about your motivation and lifestyle. It said, "What about building a company makes it such a critical part of your lifestyle today, and how has that motivation evolved over time?"
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Yeah, that's an absolutely great question.
Yeah,
So so you want me to answer that?
yeah, go
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Absolutely. So it goes back to something that I call a defining experience. And I think that everyone has a defining experience in their life at some point that compels them to do certain things in a certain way. And in mine, my first defining experience happened when I was in the third grade.
Oh
And that
wow.
experience made me commit to my life that I didn't want to have to ask anybody for money.
Oh
And I was
wow.
going to figure out how I was going to make money, because it came down to me being in a situation where I had to ask my dad for money and I didn't want to. And I went to my mom and said, would she ask him? And she said, no, you're going to have to ask him. And I said, I'm not, no. I said, this is not going to happen to me ever again. And I'm going to figure out how to make my own money. And everything that I've done from that point forward has been with that in the back of my mind, in terms of how am I going to solve this financial situation on my own. That was one defining experience, and it took me through the military, 27 years in the military. But in support of that defining experience, when I retired from the military, I said, I'm not going to work for anybody ever again, because I was a colonel. So I did pretty well in terms of promotions and success in the military, but I still didn't have the ability to make the decisions that I wanted to make. I didn't have the ability to control my time. If I wanted to take some time off, I had to ask somebody to take time off, put in for leave. I didn't have the ability to make as much money as I wanted to make based on my own skills, talents, and abilities. So I said, no. I said, I'm not going to work for anybody ever again. And there's two hard things. One is to become a corporate employee, and the other one is to become an entrepreneur. And I said, of those two hard choices, I'm going to take the path to become an entrepreneur, because if I succeed in that, then I control everything, and so I did try a few different things. I didn't start out with the idea of becoming an entrepreneur, but when it became clear to me that the most controllable way for me to have the freedom that I wanted was to become an entrepreneur, and that really means building a company that is successful and profitable out of an idea that you have, I said, there's no choice, and there is no option. And my first thing, because I didn't know a whole lot about being in business, was a franchise. I became a franchisee, and said, that's going to be my way, my master's degree in learning how to build a company on my own.
Yes,
and that's what I did to start out. There's no other choice. So that question is great.
Yeah. So which franchise did you purchase?
I purchased a franchise called Fibernew, and it was leather restoration and vinyl repair.
Okay.
Most people were very confused, because here I am, a retired colonel, full colonel, high-level officer, and I'm going into a business that has to do with the technical skill of fixing stuff with my hands.
Yes. Gotcha.
And I could, as a retired colonel, of course, I could go out and get some corporate job making $200,000-$300,000 a year. So the money wasn't the thing. What was the thing was my freedom and my control over my life.
Right.
And so now here I am, in this franchise, not making much money at all. But what most people didn't understand is that I wasn't doing leather restoration and vinyl repair. I was learning how to be a CEO. Fantastic. And every day I went to work, I was looking at how can I build this company. And I had set out my goals. I had set out my plans, my programs, and I was working on my plans and programs more than I was working on the skill of leather restoration and vinyl repair, because my intent was that I was going to hire somebody to do that work.
Yes, gotcha.
I was going to be the CEO of this company, and I had high aspirations of making $1 million in annual revenue. And I was thinking big, and I never got close to that.
Okay. Yeah,
I learned about those lessons along the way that again, the video was talking about, which is, you got to have people, you have to have process. You have, all these different things. You got to be part of the ecosystem. And I was part of very many networking groups. So it was successful for me. And the other thing is that when I went into that, I said, if I'm going to be in business, I need to be in business. People told me, go work for a company, learn how they do business, and then branch off on your own. And that's it. That's just not going to work for me. I got to be in business if I'm going to be in business. Yes. So that was my way of getting into business. And I leveraged that into knowledge and experience. And I also leveraged that into finding what it was that I actually was going to be good at, and the problems that I could solve and make money and generate money through solving those problems.
Yeah, so let me answer Hassan's question really quick here. So it says, besides ChatGPT, are there any other that are specifically good for entrepreneurs, such as hosting social media all at once, helping with marketing campaigns, sales pitches, fixing website? So the first thing is ChatGPT can do all of that. And so that's the first thing. But there's no shortage of tools. And I think a couple of weeks ago, what's his name? Ray, he actually told us about this website that there is an app for that. So you can Google that. But
AI for that.
Yeah, there's an AI for that. Yeah. So and so but the little thing, what I tell people about this even in the old days, that you would say, when all these mobile phone apps, and you always say there's an app for that. But I can literally tell you for over a year now, there's been an app for almost anything, like a chat GPT for almost anything that you want to do. So there's no shortage of AI agents and things. And matter of fact, if you get a paid chat GPT account, it's got a whole list of them. You'll be searching for days, but the bottom line is there is an AI for that. And so there's plenty of tools out there. So if you like, for example, Google AI Studio, all those things you mentioned, it can help you with that. There's literally no shortage of stuff. And so, like, I give you this other example, like when I want to do prompts, I can try to write my own prompt, but I can go to console.anthropic.com, and to be honest with you, last summer I put $25 on that on my account there, and I still got over $23, and I've been using it to write prompts. The business idea prompt that does all this stuff for you. I use that tool for that. And so if you don't have to know how to do anything to be successful with AI, because it'll show you and help you do everything that you want to learn how to do. And that's literally the honest to God truth. So so what I really will tell anybody right now is just there's literally no excuse for you not moving forward to do what you want to do and get the help you need to do it. And that's the honest to God truth. And you don't even have to ask me or ask Dr. Russ. It's there. Just ask it. You can you can copy that question that you like the son paste and place it in the chat GPT, and it'll tell you all these other tools that's out there. You see what I'm saying? It just, to me, that's what. So I got it displayed there, son. Dr. Russ put it up there for you on the screen. But the bottom line is So he's got another question here. Also, what's the benefit of writing prompts? So prompts is how you actually talk to a large language model. So and so what I learned,
the question he put in is a prompt. A prompt is just simply what you ask it. So if you say, "Are you familiar with?" That's a prompt. You're prompting it to do something. You're prompting it to return something to you, and that's the benefit is you get an answer.
And so that was so fantastic that this is coming up, and we appreciate the question, because one of the chief architects at Microsoft, and he says he told all his developers that work for him, stop writing code. This is one of the head guys at Microsoft. Stop writing code. That is, the AI can do that better than you. He literally said stop. And guess what he said the new skill is? How to communicate to the large language model to get it to do what you want to do. So the new job role is, being a software programmer, you want to learn how to tell the AI to build architect the type system you want it to architect. So communication is the new skill.
That's right. Soft skills. Soft skills have been, important for a long time. Now they're becoming more important.
So Hassan, you're asking all these questions, but that's what I'm telling you. You don't have to wait to ask Dr. Russ or I. Just write it in ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or
Copilot.
anything, Copilot, anything. Just write it in there. That's what we're trying to tell everybody. Stop, waiting on other people to help you be successful. Leverage the tool that's there. That's what's going to propel you to the future. And so,
one of the ways to think about this is Google search. You go out there and you ask, you do this Google search. You put in a question and you ask, hey, who are the, what is this or what is that, and you get an answer. The generative AI engines do the same thing. They do more than that, but at the very least, if you just want to use it as a search engine, it's going to give you what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm going to take a second, but we need to get back to learning about you. So let me.
Well, we flex. We meet the customer where they are.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to answer this one question he's got up here, and so let me see if I can find what I'm trying to do here. I'm clicking the wrong thing. I guess that's what I'm doing. I hate not having the one screen, but when I'm traveling, I'm limited to one screen.
Yeah, I'm using my phone. I'm using my phone over here to
okay.
as my screen.
Yeah. So this is the site I was telling you about. They give you $5 credit when you first start, but let's see, and so I use up that $5 credit. Then I put $25 on it, and almost a year ago. So let's look and see how much credit I still have left. Let me see if I can get to my. I'll just start with generating so I can just describe what I want to do for a prompt. Just tug a little bit and it'll actually generate the prompt for me. But what I wanted to do, I'm trying to get to my dashboard here. Let's see. Okay, maybe it's here.
And what is this one that you're using right now?
It's console.anthropic.com. So maybe I look over here. Now here's my dashboard over here. It's been a while since I used it, and I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to find my funding thing, how much money I got left. Okay. So I put $25 on there last summer, and look how much money I still got left. And I done created, I don't know how many prompts with this thing. And so you can put $5 on there if you want to. You don't have to put a whole bunch of money, but so the AI will help you write the prompt. I use ChatGPT to write prompts too. So that's what the magic of AI is actually all about. And so, but that's why we're trying to get people to shift to this mindset. It's the number one tool for innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to actually start using it, to help you. And that's why I tell people to start the way I suggest, because you don't need no skills or nothing. Are you familiar with this? Are you familiar with this? And yeah, anybody can ask that question.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, that's how I discovered what it could do, because I know it can do a lot, but there's no way you can know all the things it can do because it's going to absorb so much information.
Right. And once you understand what it can do, then you move to the other side of it, which is using it to do what you need to do. And I'm sure we'll get into this, at some point, but, I'm actually using it in the building and development and the growth of my company.
Fantastic.
So, once you understand the power of it, then now how do I turn that around and help me to grow and accelerate what I'm trying to do?
Okay, yeah. And so I'm going to go to the next question. You mentioned freedom as a goal. What does entrepreneurship freedom means to you, and how close are you to living that vision? I think I already know the answer because I think you answered that, but go right ahead.
So, freedom is dependent upon money. If you
Yeah.
don't have money, you don't have freedom.
Yes.
And so I had to accept that truth and then to figure out how much money was enough and how hard was I going to work for the money that I wanted to have. What was I actually going to do in order to get that money? What was I going to deliver? What value was I going to contribute? And that all went into this idea of freedom. And the way I say freedom for me is having enough money so that I don't have to think about it. And if there's anything that I want to do, if there's anywhere that I want to go, I can go and not worry about how much it costs to make that happen. And so I did set a pretty high financial target for myself to go after. And I've been proceeding along the path to make that happen. And there's one thing about setting a target that I encourage everybody to do is it gives you directionality.
Oh, for sure.
So many business owners that I work with, and I'll ask them, how much money do you want to make? How much money do you need to make? The answer comes back, well, I want to make as much money as I can, or I want to make $1 billion. I want to make $1 million.
Yeah.
But then the next question is, okay, if you want to make $1 billion, who has made $1 billion and what did they do in order to become a billionaire? And are you willing to do what they did? Do you even have enough time in your life to do what they did? Because some of them started out when they were 5 years old, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So you have to really now, once we establish that monetary target, and I don't call it a goal because a goal is smart, it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time phased. And there's nothing about a target that is achievable, realistic, or time phased. Specific, measurable, absolutely. But when I set a target, I don't know that it's achievable, but I know that it's what I need in order to have what I want.
Yes.
So it's got me on the path. In terms of financial freedom, I have actually already achieved that, but not at the level where I can sit back and say, hey, I can do anything I want without having to worry about how much it costs. I'm not there yet, but I'm moving to that point very methodically, very purposefully, very intentionally, and very measurably.
Okay. So on networking, can you share an example of a powerful connection you made through networking that helped you move your business forward?
Yeah. There were many, but Business Networking International was the first major one that I joined, because when I joined, I was still in the franchise. That's what gave me the ability to be part of that networking group, is I have my business. So that was a benefit of going into the franchise and not working for a company trying to figure out how I was going to build and become a successful builder of a company. So that one helped me to understand and realize what it was that I was trying to do. And I mentioned 2 years. I was in BNI for 2 years. And during that 2 years, I was exploring a lot of different things to figure out what is the problem in the world that I can solve and with the skills, talents, and abilities that I have. So coming out of that experience, the next one sent me into the PhD program. And the PhD program was a networking focus for me when I went, because I'm trying to solve this problem of how to help small business owners who were doing everything they were taught to do, but not making money.
Yes.
Why was that? What was that all about? And I did a lot of, as you can see, I have a lot of books back here. Yeah, these are books back here.
That was my next question about knowledge, and then you got all these books in your background. So the next question was about on learning. You talk about investing in your knowledge. How do you choose what to learn next, and how do you apply that learning quickly in your business?
Yeah, in the business, business is actually a process of overcoming obstacles. And you're going to hit an obstacle and you won't know how to solve that problem. It may be, how do I get my first sale? And you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how you get that first sale, how you get somebody to buy what it is that you are providing as a solution. And so you have to know your best way to learn. And my best way to learn is reading books. My best way to learn is taking courses, and I'm a self-educator. I've always been a self-educator. Once I've educated myself, then I go outside and I help and I allow If I could use that word, I allow other people to educate me. But when they're educating me, if they don't know what they're talking about, then I can tell pretty quickly that they don't really know what they're talking about. And I can kind of move into those spaces and places and network, because networking is all about building relationships. Then I can start my networking with people who do know what they're talking about. I'm networking with you because you know what you're talking about. And I know you know what you're talking about because I've self-educated myself in the space.
Yeah, and
So,
that's a good point, because one of the speakers today at ByteCon, she was basically saying that she was using ChatGPT for so many things, and then she was in a job interview and she couldn't use ChatGPT, and she said, I guess I have to ask ChatGPT. But she admitted it was a mistake, because you do have to have some basic knowledge. And she also gave the example that there was a job opening that had to do with AI, but when she went to apply for the job, they wanted a physician for the job. See, what most people don't understand is the AI is just a tool. You have to have the person that's the expert that knows how to train that can help train the AI on and stuff. And so what I tell people is the hardest thing for people to get.
right.
Like Dr. Barnes, your knowledge, you can literally create an AI that mimics your knowledge.
That's right.
And then so once you do that, now you can put that AI you can use it on your website to make, so if 10,000 people come to your website, they all can use the same AI. Now you just multiplied yourself 10 times.
Right. And that comes down to when you're writing the prompt. So I did write a prompt once where I said, I have a podcast and I have 150 episodes. And I said, using Dr. Barnes' voice based upon 150 episodes of the Purposefully Profitable podcast, do this, 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 and this. And so it went specifically to that body of information to bring back to me what I wanted it to bring back. I didn't want it going to outside sources to pull in the information. I wanted it to use my information, because some of the things that I talk about are unique, and and I talk about things differently than other people talk about them. So I wanted it to bring that into what I was creating.
Fantastic. Yep, and that's an excellent example. From that you mentioned there. So let's get another question here on solving problems. What's the painful problem you choose to solve, and how did you validate that people were willing to pay for the solution?
So the problem that I'm going after is a term that I came across in a book that I read, which is entrepreneurial poverty. And it's the state where you are in business, but you're not making the money that you expected to make when you started, but you're making enough that you have hope. So you don't want to quit, because you think that eventually something's going to happen and you're going to get there. And that's a very painful place to be. If you're generating $30,000 to $50,000 in your business year after year, that's not enough really to have the freedom that you want. And you're putting in a lot of work and effort to get there. So that's a very painful problem. And that's the one that I chose to address. And my challenge is huge, because that's a community of people who by definition don't have any money. So how am I going to create a business model that generates money for my company when I'm working with people who by definition don't have any? And that was the greatest challenge for me, was to figure that out, and how I was going to do that and be able to move forward with my company. And short story, I chose to leverage by technology, because by leveraging by technology, I can have a very low price point, and sort of the Walmart business model to a certain degree, a very low price point, but yet reach many people. And my target was to help 600,000 micro business owners become purposefully profitable.
Fantastic.
That's where I was going. That's where I am going with this thing. And it's very measurable, and it's
okay. That's great. That's fantastic.
reasonable. I have been told though that it's not realistic to my face.
Yeah. And so I got this question on listening to clients. Can you give an example of how client feedback help you pivot or improve your offerings?
That is the only way that so the way my model works is I'm going to help you create a written sales process that's going to generate revenue, and then based on that revenue I get 10% of that revenue that was created. And
Yeah.
what that does is, instead of charging people hourly, they come in with little risk, because if I don't help you make money, then you're not obligated. It's the personal injury attorney model. If they don't win your case, they don't charge you money. And what that has done for me is it has enabled me to work with hundreds of business owners in the pre-profitability stage who otherwise would not have been able to come into my company because they don't have any money. But
Yes.
they came in because they say there's no risk. And that helped me to evolve and develop all of my processes across a broad range of people, no matter what your experience. And I work with people in the pre-profitability stage. That doesn't mean they're not making any money. I've worked with general contractors who are generating $250,000 in a year, but they're not profitable and they're scared. And so the frameworks that I've created helps them to look at the foundation of what they're doing, build from a solid position, and then move forward based on that. And it reduces the overwhelm. It reduces the anxiety. I help with what I call decision-making models. And similar to what you're doing, I've tried to simplify them to the lowest possible level of simplification that I was capable of. And that's what I call, I say I had to go through a PhD in order to get this simple. And that's where I really see a very strong integration in what you're doing, because I think that a collaboration is just going to be incredibly powerful. Your models are strong. I love what you put together, and so I'm really looking forward to to that kind of a collaboration. Yeah.
So guess what the next question is?
What's that?
Looking ahead, what one big goal you're working toward, and how can the Kukua Institute community support you in getting there?
Well, I created a series of, I have 4 stages in my program. And the first stage is pre-revenue, pre-profitable. And I've created a series of worksheets that I use for that. In the beginning, I did it using PowerPoint slides, and then I evolved it into an actual series of worksheets. And now I've taken those worksheets and had my tech person code those into an app. And now we're taking that app and we're building an AI engine behind it. And so that was the point. That is my number one project. I'm also doing a Web3 project, which is blockchain based,
Yes.
NFTs and that sort of thing. But this AI project is right now the number one on my plate, because that's what's going to help me leverage the technology, as I mentioned, to generate the revenue that I want to generate into my company at a price point that's reasonable for the people that I want to help. Fantastic. So Kukua Institute can help me, number one, because you're so much further down the road than I am in doing these things, that that number one, in taking advantage of what you've already built and how you help people build businesses, you can help me build my business. Where I can make a contribution is that I've been at this project for about 15 years. I retired in 2009. That's when I started on the path. In 2019, I graduated from my PhD program and rebranded into Sistro Solutions. So I've got about 6 years into Sistro Solutions, and all of those experiences I can bring to what Kukua Institute is wanting to do. And we're working in the same community.
Yes, that's and so you bring a lot to the table, and so of course we want to partner with you, because you got a lot to bring to the community to help these businesses grow. And one point I want to make is we just run into so many people, and you were on the networking last week. We had a couple of people on there that had created a lot of stuff, but they weren't unsure on how to move forward. And so guess what? For me, as an engineer, and even in high school, college, my whole thing was I learned to leverage resources to help me move forward, and so that's really what the secret is. And
Right.
so like I told the story before too. It's just like you have to expect something good to happen.
That's right.
And you have, if people don't know what you're trying to do, they can't help you. So
That's
when you
right.
let people know what you're trying to do, you can get the help. But that's the beauty of success is people are willing to help you.
They absolutely are.
Yeah, and that's what the key is. So I didn't know how to do all this stuff. I was out there doing it the hard way and stuff, and I learned about these programs. So most people, say I want to go design a program. I'll say, yeah, I can go design a program, but here's one that's already created and been tried and tested and it keeps improving. So why should I go out and reinvent the wheel?
Exactly.
Somebody done wrote a book on how to do something and it's a successful book. Why should I go out and reinvent the wheel? And that's what people don't understand. That the people that work in these fields day in and day out, they have the experience. You work in your field day in and day out, you have the experience. And so it's just a matter of aligning it with these processes. And what I shared today was, when I worked for the research lab, everything we worked on had never been done before. And as a startup founder, you're building something that hasn't been built before.
That's right.
Yeah. And so what's important in both cases is you have to know the process. If you know the process, you can move forward. If you know the methodology, you can move forward. So that's what's important. You have to learn the methodology and the processes. And so that's why we offer the Lean Stack, because it tells the founder each milestone you have to meet to keep growing, to get traction. And that's why we use the startup science, because it focuses on the phases that your company goes through.
Right.
And so it tells you what you have to do to get from this phase to the next phase to the next phase, so you don't fail.
Right.
And that's, so why reinvent the wheel if two of the leading experts have went out there and spent I don't know how much money trying to figure this stuff out and working with all these founders. And that's what I tell people is I didn't create these programs. I just partnered with the people to make them available to, Black founders. I make them available to everybody, but I definitely want to make them available to Black founders, because when I shared what I wanted to do and was trying to do and try to get some of the folks to help out, they blew me off. So I said, if I'm going to have to go do my blood, sweat, and tears, I'm going to do something for my own people.
Right. Yep.
That was my attitude. I'll
Very
give you,
well aligned in our thinking.
yeah, I'll give you access to it, but you blew me off when I recommended you do it, and I wouldn't recommend you do it because I thought it was the best idea. I recommend you do it because that's what I saw traveling all over the world.
That's right.
In these startup programs. Why reinvent the wheel? I apologize. I get a little worked up here.
Yeah. And I went the hard way in my PhD in that regard. I studied 75 business owners who started with zero and built their companies to 100 million in annual revenue. And I focused on what every single one of them did in the pre-profitability stage to position themselves for that kind of success. So that was a very intensive, study to come up with the things that I came up with out of that program. And those are what I built into my company as the foundational things that I share, moving forward. So I have a definition of organization that I use, which is, steady progress. You got to be measurable in small increments. We try to take too much on at a time using, and this is the important part, using a proven process. And all of these are proven processes, so you use those proven processes, but I also learned that I couldn't buy anybody else's system off the shelf and expect it to work for me.
Right.
So I learned that systems work best for the people who create them.
Yes.
And so one of my challenges was then how do I help and teach somebody and show someone how to build their own system?
Yes.
And that's where strategy development came in for me. And I stay in my lane. Like you said, I do strategy development and organization design, and that's how I help people. And if people want to know marketing or sales or social media or websites or all that kind of stuff, and they want me to help them, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
If you need strategy development, we can do something together. But if you don't need strategy development, I'm going to refer you to the experts who do all those other things.
Yes. Yeah. So Dr. Russ, it's been great having you on, and I love chatting with you. And Caleb was listening in
Right.
tonight, and so you all got to get to know each other because you're both right there in Tampa. And,
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really fantastic.
Nice.
One of the things Caleb and I was talking about in the networking is, I promise this is the second to the last question. So tell us what you did in the Air Force.
Oh, I started out as a B-52 radar navigator. So I was a combat aviator, a few combat missions in Desert Storm. Did that for up to the 11-year point in my military career. And then I was what I call a staff geek. I was a joint staff officer. So I was at European Command. I was at, Strategic Command, helping build the plan against Russia. I was at Central Command, where I retired. I was on the joint staff at the Pentagon. In the J5. So aviation, and then higher headquarters, senior leadership.
Yes. Yeah. Caleb is trying to do some stuff with the military right now. So you all definitely need to, I'll send an email connecting you guys, and maybe you all can help each other kind of move forward.
Absolutely. We'll have lunch somewhere.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. And so any parting thoughts for the founders out there?
Just what I said earlier, show up and commit to your projects. If you show up, and I have people who have shown up to the things that I've been trying to help them with for years, and I support them. I'm there. If you're there, I'm there.
Fantastic. And I want to give a shout out to our speaker that's coming next week. And so let's see what I got here. I wanted to let me stop this screen share and then do another screen share here. For some reason, I guess I didn't get enough to eat today. My brain is moving kind of slow. This big city stuff is challenging down here in Miami. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to one of my previous slides here, if I can figure out how to do that. Just bear with me. So I guess next week is a founder of Makes Startups, and they developed this product called Co-Founder OS. And it's an amazing product. And so he's going to be on next week to tell us all about that. And he was the one that was involved in that pitch competition that's coming up. That's No Boundaries. And so they're doing research, about startups and entrepreneurs. But this Co-Founder OS, it literally measures your entrepreneurship skills. It actually gives you a grade when you fill out an application to get in the program, and then it tracks your progress improvement as you go through the program, and you get a national certification. So that's this Co-Founder OS thing, and so it's a CRM, it's a HR platform, LMS. All built into one thing, and it's actually very affordable to founders, and it's literally amazing. So look forward to that next week. And the beautiful thing about it, folks that are eligible for WIOA funding, they can actually use through this program. You can actually leverage WIOA training dollars to pay for your training to go through this program, because it literally measures your skills when you get started and measures when you complete the program. So it can show the improvement, and it's integrated into your accounting system. So so we know how money you're making 6 months from now or a year from now. So it's a fantastic opportunity. So join us next week for that. So thank everybody for joining us tonight, and like I was telling everybody in the LinkedIn post, I said Dr. Russ is one cool dude, and I think everybody agrees with me on that. So I'm gonna end the stream, but it's gonna play a little video. If you want to hang around and chat a little bit, otherwise we'll chat with you later. But make sure your video upload so I can get that back to you as well. Bye bye everyone. We'll see you next week.
All right. It was a pleasure.
Here's a detailed breakdown of our Black Founders Program achievements and components. Program Reach and Impact, Global Reach, supporting over 500 founders worldwide, focusing on Black founders who often encounter systemic barriers in the startup ecosystem. Training and cohorts, delivered structured, hands-on training over the past 2 years. 9 30-day business model design cohorts, guided founders through designing scalable business models using the Lean Stack platform. 3 90-day launch programs, supported startups in validating demand, launching solutions, and refining their offerings. Our first Black Founders Innovation Summit attracted 92 in-person attendees and 182 registrants. Included networking events, speaker presentations, and panel discussions to provide diverse perspectives and practical insights. Training platforms used. Lean Stack, focused on scalable business model design and launch, with practical tools for customer discovery and validation. Startup Science provides education tailored to each phase of the startup lifecycle. Co-Founder OS measures entrepreneurial skills, offers certifications, and provides frameworks for building confidence in navigation the startup ecosystem. Patent Hacks trains founders on intellectual property, including patents and trademarks, to protect and leverage their innovations. Key goals and focus areas. Knowledge and resource bridging helps founders acquire critical startup knowledge, connections, and opportunities to secure funding and resources. Scalable Solutions emphasizes building sustainable, scalable business models to ensure long-term success. Diversity and Inclusion supports Black founders by providing a space where their unique challenges and perspectives are addressed. Event highlights over 200 consecutive weekly startup founder best practices events since October 2020. These provide ongoing support, practical insights, and networking opportunities for founders. 10 demo days, which serve as accountability milestones where founders pitch present progress, e.g. the 3P progress report, persevere, pivot, or pause. Focus on wealth creation in emerging industries, encouraging Black founders to participate in opportunities like AI and other tech innovations. The Black Founders Program reflects our strong commitment to equipping Black entrepreneurs with the tools, knowledge, and ecosystem connections they need to succeed.